Donna Pollard is the founder of Survivors Corner, a support organization for adults with trauma that advocates against child marriage. Donna herself is a child marriage survivor. I spoke with her about her experience, her organization, and how she was able to make legislative changes around child marriage. Donna, I know that you're involved in advocating for legislative change around child marriage. But first, I want to start with your story. You're a survivor of child marriage. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, absolutely. When I was born, my mother was at a very advanced age, and I was very unexpected and unwanted. That was made very clear to me growing up through a lot of physical and psychological abuse that I endured from her. And when my father passed away, I was 13 years of age, and at that time, I lost all hope in any type of normalcy in life, and that resulted in me being admitted to a behavioral health facility for treatment when I was 14. And it's there that instead of receiving the help that I desperately needed, I was perpetuated by a mental health technician that worked in the facility. He was 29 years of age. Again, I was 14. Once I was released from the facility, my mother allowed me to have a dating relationship with him. And 2 years later, when I was 16 years old, she consented to my marriage to him. He at that time was nearly 31. As a result, I ended up dropping out of the 10th grade and lost a substantial scholarship that I had been awarded for writing achievement. And I ended up enduring several forms of abuse and exploitation as a result of that underage marriage. I tried to escape multiple times. I tried to seek refuge in a domestic violence shelter where I was turned away because I was not yet legally an adult, and they told me that they could not help me. I was also denied the opportunity to rent my own apartment, even though I was working full-time in multiple locations, because they said that I could not enter into a contract with them. So essentially, I was trapped because of my underage status, despite the fact that I was married to a person that was 15 years my senior.
You talk about the economic disadvantages that being forced into a child marriage had on you. You talk about the educational impact as well. But you say that you feel it was your child who was the ultimate victim when it comes to this situation. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, absolutely. I was 17 when I became pregnant with my oldest daughter, and I had just turned 18 when she was born. And I had no education. I was working for minimum wage. I had been traumatized and exploited and did not feel that I was able to take care of her. And ultimately, she absolutely was the ultimate victim in the situation, because when I was able to finally file for divorce, I didn't challenge my perpetrator on obtaining custody of her. I didn't think that I would end up even having a shot at being awarded custody, nor did I think that I could provide her with any type of sustainable life. And so I let him take custody of her. And as a result, she's had to grow up with feeling like her mother abandoned her, not having a solid relationship with me because he ended up alienating me as her mother in her life. And at the end of the day, I pay child support to my rapist. And I absolutely believe that I should be supporting my daughter, but I should be able to support my daughter in more than just a financial way. I should be able to be there for her. And I was robbed of that opportunity, and she was robbed of the opportunity at having a normal life as a result of the legality of child marriage.
And despite all this pain and loss in your life, you were able to create this organization called Survivors Corner. Tell us a little bit about the mission.
Yes, so Survivors Corner is a nonprofit organization that's dedicated to empowering those who have been traumatized and victimized. And we provide numerous advocacy efforts, particularly on the topic of child marriage. As a result of a campaign that we launched back in 2018, we were actually able to achieve a huge legislative change here in the state of Kentucky that established a minimum age for the age of marriage and put into affect some common sense criteria that a judge would have to assess prior to allowing the marriage of a minor to occur. Now, even though it's not an age 18 bright line, which of course would be all of our preference, we put into effect very protective parameters for 17-year-olds, such as the judge would have to make sure that the minor had either obtained her GED or had graduated from high school. She would have to be able to demonstrate that she had been able to live independently and work for the past 3 months. And it also put a cap in the age disparity that could be between the 17-year-old and the person that they were marrying, to where the older party could not be greater than 4 years. And that, of course, would eliminate the risk for a person in a position of power to be perpetuating victimization on the 17-year-old. We also ensured that the language in the bill made emancipation simultaneous with the granting of the marriage license. And so that means that if a 17-year-old was to receive that authorization from a judge, they were empowered legally to make the decision of whether or not they were going to follow through with that marriage, or if they were going to go on with their emancipated status, now having several rights to be able to refuse it if they were being coerced by their parents or their significant other.
Why do you think it's been so difficult to create a federal minimum age for marriage?
Well, at a federal level, constitutionally is what I have heard the argument is to be able to set it, because the states have jurisdiction over the marriage licenses primarily. And honestly, I think that it has a lot to do with the way that women's status is still portrayed in society. And if you look at the number of child marriage cases, still the majority of them are females as the underage spouse. And this results in numerous women, including myself, being in a position where we can't even take custody of our children when we leave the marriage, even if the marriage is abusive at the hands of our spouse, because of the fact that we have no education and we may be dependent on government assistance at that time, such as public housing or food stamps. And, you know, when a judge looks at that situation, they consider the child to be better off with a person that has an educational background and has had sustainable employment for a while, which minors just, you know, do not have the ability to do. And so from a federal perspective, I don't think that, you know, there's necessarily a magic key other than signing an executive order that would absolutely say that no marriage under the age of 18 could occur.
Donna Pollard, I want to thank you for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Raina.
Thank you for watching the CBSN original, Speaking Frankly, Child Marriage. You can learn more about this or any of our other CBSN original documentaries at cbsnews.com/originals. This is CBSN, CBS News, always on.